Hi there! Welcome to today's episode. What makes Wing Tsjun famous and what makes Wing Tsjun so effective? I'm pretty sure that you have heard of Chi Sao, the sticking or the clinging arms training that we have. With Chi Sao, you will be able to fight off an opponent that's even stronger than you, even when blindfolded. This is Sifu Thomas. He's going to be my partner for today and he's going to show you how it's done. Despite the fact that Chi Sao training mainly focuses on the arms and on the torso, of course a real fight goes through all ranges. When I speak about ranges, I mean the kicking range, the punching range, the range for elbows, knee strikes and headbutts, the range for sweeps and throws, and of course the ground fighting range. However, right now specifically when we practice the clinging arms or sticking arms exercise, of course this is what we focus on, our upper limbs, whereas later in the program we have something called Chi Sao, which is practically Chi Sao with the legs. What really is Chi Sao and how does it work? Well, the first thing you want to imagine is that your opponent's arms are obviously the part that are dangerous for you, right? If you get hit by his punch, then obviously it's gonna hurt really badly. This is why the thing I want to avoid by all means necessary is obviously to get hit by one of those bad boys. So first thing we do in Wing Tsjun is we follow our four concepts. Wing Tsjun is a system that is not based on techniques, but it is based on concepts. And I'm going to go in detail into this topic in a later video. Just so you know, the first concept that we have in Wing Tsjun is that if the way is clear, I go forward, which practically means that if somebody is wide open, I'm not just going to go around him, but I'm just going to go right to the target. Yeah, it's maybe here, it may be here. Anything that could cause maximum damage. Now, I either have the chance to hit him or I get in contact with his arm somewhere. Maybe he is the one attacking me. So I could either go ahead and just attack him to the head or to the throat, or at some point I will get contact to his arms. And this is when Chi Sao kicks in. So what happens in Chi Sao is that you get contact with your opponent's arms, and depending on his action now, let's say he punches me straight to the nose, I can feel what is going on here and form a technique that he dictates. So I'm not going to go into prearranged motions. It's quite the opposite. What I do is I let him dictate the motion, and the only thing I do is I adapt. So we are never stiff and hard. If he punches and I use my muscles in order to defend against this thing, it's going to look very badly for me. Therefore, what I do is I deflect his force by pushing it, well, not to the side, but by allowing him to flow past me. If I would push him to the side, then this would create an impulse for him that he can make use of again. Whereas if I just stick with him, but I'm still pressure loaded at the same time, if he tries to give me the backhand now, he's going to walk right into my hand due to my forward pressure. Now, let's take a look at both arms. He tries to punch me, or I try to punch him, and somewhere we will get into contact. The thing is that I always know where my own arms are. And by gaining contact with the opponent's arms, he gives me all the information I need in order to know where his arms are. So let's say his left arm is moving toward my throat, then I will feel that he's jamming my wrist in. Now the only thing I have to do is just get away from my own wrist, not even from his hand. I don't really care about it. I don't really care about his punch so much. I care about getting out of the way of my own arm. Thereby I'm deflecting his force, and now when he's really forceful, I will be able to slide into his throat. Okay? Let's take a look at this application right quickly. Okay, slowly. So I get contact with his arms, he's beginning to punch, and I'm borrowing his force. Now, the second he pushes past me, I'm able to relax my arm and secure with the other hand. If he should punch with the right arm now, I still have this hand here, or I can bring this arm down while I'm really going for his throat over here, which is devastating. So what you could do is imagine your arm as being the branch of a tree. When you walk through a forest in a group and somebody is following you and you bend the branch of a tree and you let go of the branch, then obviously the person walking behind you has to make sure that he doesn't get this thing into his nose, right? So he has to be cautious. And that's pretty much the same thing that happens here. When he pushes my arm down slowly, then he receives a slight, just keep going, a slight pressure up to his throat once the so-called point of no control, of no return is reached. If he pushes it down hardly or powerfully, then obviously the response is going to be equally strong. Now let's take a look at both arms. Okay, so by now you should have understood the importance of having contact with the opponent's limbs. What makes it more difficult, of course, is if we have contact on both arms and not just on one, because he can independently move his arms. So there are several positions. One position here may be called Bong Sao, another position may be called Fuk Sao, another position may be called Tan Sao or Fuk Sao. I don't really want to go into this right now. It's more about the core concept of the actual Chi Sao. So the idea is that I get contact with the opponent's arms and he has contact with my arms. When he applies more pressure to my arms, then he can feel that I'm yielding with my arms, but should he drop his arms now, then he would be in trouble because, yeah, if you just drop the arms, yeah, exactly, then my arms would just spring forward. Now, there is a limit to how much I can yield, because obviously suddenly it could happen that his arms are too close to my body. This is why I either have to use turns now if his arms get too close to me, or I can use steps, or I can use something that is called rooting. Yeah? We practice this by having the partner starting to twist my arms so that I can practice yielding from joint to joint. First I practice yielding here at the wrist, then he pushes more, then I practice yielding at the elbow, then at my shoulder, then at my spine, then my hip, then my knees, and then my ankles. So I'm really becoming a steel spring. The whole body is becoming a steel spring. If he should release now, then boom, then the whole body uses the ground reaction force in order to apply a lot of power into the opponent. However, if I should be done with all my yielding here, then what I do is I start rooting. So I'm using the ground now. If you push forward now very hardly, powerfully, pow, 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 by pushing upward, and therefore I'm very easily able to withhold somebody who's much stronger than me. Again, if you should let go, then the arms, boom, go forward, and it's not that I'm leaning in and therefore fall into him. So let's go into the rolling arms, Pun Sao. What we do here is both of us are maintaining forward pressure toward the opponent while all the time changing the positioning of the arms. So I'm creating different impulses in his arms in order to have him react differently all the time, and he has no idea which impulse is coming. At some point I may push down, or I may push down from the inside, or I may push diagonally or parallelly. So it always changes, and he just has to adapt in a very relaxed manner. So first thing we do is we keep forward pressure, while at the same time, second thing, changing the position, and at the third time being extremely relaxed. Now, since he has forward pressure, that means he can feel when I push him to the side. He can feel when I push him down. He can feel when I push him upward. And therefore always make use of it and use his arms again like that branch of a tree in order to finish me off. And now what happens is that we throw in attacks. I may attack him with a palm strike, with a punch, with a backhand. Maybe I throw in some more complicated attacks where I cross his arms or where I lock his arms up in order to come in, and he has to defend accordingly. In last week's video, I spoke about the importance of sections. This is exactly what comes into play now. Yeah, the attacks that you see here are being put into a choreography that we call a section, through which the opponent learns, or the partner learns, to really relax and to adapt according to the pressure that is given to him. So now, once we're done with this, we're actually able to feel which attacks are coming because we have that constant pressure and that constant contact with the opponent. So Thomas is just going to throw in a few attacks, and I'm going to put on my blindfold over here to demonstrate to you how what it looks like. So let's perform the first section without me being able to see what's going on here. Let's bring some of those techniques into the blindfolded Chi Sao, where I have no idea what's going on, but I have to react accordingly. And then we're just in the flow. Both of us are trying to feel where the opponent's gaps are right now. The speed is extremely slow, so that we just have a relaxed fashion of feeling what's going on and being able to feel the opponent's pressure gaps or the partner's pressure gaps. Right now, I really don't look at him as being my opponent. It's more a pressure partner game that we have here. he applies pressure, I have to react in a relaxed fashion. He does the same thing with me, and so on. Now let's bring this into free Chi Sao to see if I can really react to this. And then, of course, you can play a little bit with it so that both actually feel where the opponent has pressure gaps. Then it's not as pretty anymore as we had in the actual application, because the goal of the application was to really finish the scenario off as quickly as I could, whereas here, I'm trying to feel where the pressure gaps are and give him the chance to come back into Chi Sao, so that this whole thing becomes a flow, despite the fact that both are trying to feel where the opponent has those gaps. This was our Chi Sao part. Thank you so much, Thomas, for playing with me. Both of us are sweating. I think that's a good sign, so you can also get a good cardio training in with this. If you still should have any questions about it, please feel free to comment to this video or to hit me up on Facebook, get in touch with me. Make sure to subscribe to this channel, and if you haven't yet, subscribe to our online academy. All our 12 student grades that we have, you can see them on www.wt-online.com. There you can see professional footage of all our student grades, which will give you the chance to get more and more content, more and more knowledge about Wing Chun. I'll see you next week. Thank you for watching.